Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we plunge into some fascinating information, trying to pull out the essential bits for you. Today, we're embarking on, well, a really unique deep dive. It's all about these profound allegories about building, about foundations. Our source material, it's a transcript from a YouTube channel, the Syam channel. The video is called Bunkangapa Kodi Gan 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 Gan, which roughly translated means something like the house built by a foolish man, or maybe the unwise man's house. And our mission really is to unpack three different allegories we found in there about building houses. We want to explore what each structure actually represents and, the deeper foundational lessons they might hold for you.
Exactly. And what's really interesting, I think, is that these aren't just, blueprints for physical houses. They're really ancient metaphors, quite profound, about how we choose to build our lives, build our resilience. And they come from some deep spiritual traditions that honestly still really resonate today.
Okay, right. So let's dig into this. The source jumps right in, talking about three individuals from the Bible who built houses in, well, quite different ways. The first one built what the source calls a rainy season house. And you probably know this story. It's Noah. He built the ark, didn't he? Exactly as God instructed, to escape this massive flood. Noah, his family, all the animals, they got into the ark before the rain started.
Yeah, and a really key insight from the source here is the interpretation after the biblical account. After the 40 days and nights of rain and then 150 days for the water to go down, the ark ends up resting on the mountains of Ararat. The source connects this huge amount of water, this deluge, to something called Dharma Shastra, which represents divine law. And it makes the point that meticulously following divine law, well, that's a very difficult thing to do.
Right. This is where the interpretation gets really fascinating, I thought. The source suggests the ark, which it likens to our body or maybe our spiritual tent or house, was actually lifted above these waters, above this divine law, and it came to rest on a high mountain, a rock. So the idea is that by diligently following divine law, the goal isn't just obedience, it's for humanity to reach this high rock, this stable place.
Yeah.
What really struck me here was that it's not just about following rules. It's almost like transcending the struggle itself, finding a kind of peace, a stability that's beyond just compliance.
Indeed. It suggests a state where the law isn't a burden anymore, but it actually elevates you, which, raises a pretty important question. What does the source think are the practical results of getting to that elevation in our lives? Beyond just having a secure spot, what does it feel like? It seems to be about finding a foundation so solid, so true, that life's challenges, the complex rules, the difficult situations, they don't feel like they're dragging you down. Instead, it's like you're lifted above them.
Yeah, that really shifts the perspective, doesn't it? Okay, let's move to the second builder. The source describes someone who built, apparently, a beautiful, fine house. But, and this is the crucial part, they built it on sand. This story comes from Matthew's Gospel, chapter 7. And predictably, when the rains came down, the floods rose up, the winds blew, and just hammered that house.
Yeah.
It collapsed because, well, the foundation was just sand.
Right. And the source spends some time explaining what the sand represents in this context. When we hear sand biblically, we might think of God's promise to Abraham, descendants like the grains of sand. So in this allegory, sand symbolizes people, ordinary people. So building your house on sand means you're primarily relying on other people. This person, whenever they needed something, whenever they had a problem, they looked to other people, not to what the source identifies as that divine connection, that rock. Their spiritual house, its foundation was dependence on others.
Okay. But wait, isn't relying on community, on human connection, isn't that usually seen as a good thing, a vital thing even? How does the source square that with sand being a weak foundation?
That's a really good point, and it's a crucial distinction the source makes. It's not saying human connection is bad, not at all. But it's about where your primary trust is placed, your ultimate reliance. According to the source, this individual thought things like, oh, if I just go to so-and-so, I'll get the money I need, or if I trust this person, I won't have any trouble, or this connection will get my work done. No, they trusted people for everything, essentially, instead of placing that ultimate trust in God. We see parallels sometimes, maybe in business. An enterprise starts strong, leaning heavily on a few key people, but if those human foundations wobble, the whole thing can struggle. The source explicitly mentions this person ignored the wisdom in Psalm 118, verses 8 and 9, which basically says, it's better to trust in the Lord than in humans or princes. And just like the physical house, this spiritual house faced those same challenges, the rains, the floods, the winds.
Yeah, and the way the source interprets those elements is pretty insightful too. The rains from above, tests from God, the floods from below, those signify troubles from Satan, or maybe just difficulties and hardships caused by other people. And the winds blowing from all directions. That's the storms of influence, isn't it? From relatives, friends, just the general circumstances around us. The source is quite clear. All these things combined will inevitably cause this spiritual house, the one built on the sand of human reliance, to collapse. It really underscores the vulnerability there.
Which brings us neatly to the third individual. This person also built a house, but crucially, they built their house on a rock. And the source is very direct about this. Citing 1 Corinthians 10:4, it says that rock is Christ. So this person built their spiritual house firmly on the foundation of Christ, the rock.
Okay, so this is about true steadfastness then. The source explains that even when those same elements hit the rains from above, the floods from below, the winds from all sides beating against it, this house did not collapse. It remained unshaken, which translates to no matter how many tests God might send, no matter how many hardships or temptations come your way, no matter what difficult problems arise from neighbors, family, friends, if your spiritual house is built on Christ the rock, it will stand firm, it won't be shaken.
So what's the big takeaway here? The source draws this really poignant distinction. It says, we're often very clever, very careful when building our worldly homes. We put down strong foundations, make them look beautiful. But our true wisdom, the source argues, lies in building the foundation of our spiritual home on Christ, the rock. Because, well, our worldly homes are temporary, aren't they? But the spiritual house built on Christ, that rock, is described as eternal. If we broaden that idea out a bit, it's really a profound message about what has enduring value. It's a call to consciously choose a foundation that can handle not just the storms we see coming, but the ones we don't. Something that ensures what the source calls eternal well-being, not just temporary comfort.
Yeah, that's powerful. So the really strong, timeless message coming out of this deep dive seems to be all about the vital importance of your foundation. Whether you see that foundation as divine law, like Noah navigating the waters, or maybe reliance on others, like the house on sand, or that steadfast spiritual connection, the rock, that foundation is absolutely crucial for getting through life's inevitable challenges.
Exactly. These aren't just old stories. They offer this timeless wisdom about where we choose to put our trust, fundamentally, and how we build our resilience in a world that's, let's face it, constantly changing.
So here's something maybe for you to think about. What are the rains, floods, and winds showing up in your own life right now? And maybe more importantly, what is the foundation you're actually building on to withstand them? How might consciously choosing your spiritual foundation, whatever that means for you, based on these allegories, impact your ability to navigate the unpredictable storms of life? Not just for today, but for what the source calls that eternal well-being. Something to consider. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.